I was just trying on lingerie for my husband. The kind I used to wear when we were still in love. But the door creaked open, and it wasn't him. My name is Jenna, I'm 47, and I've been married to Tom for nearly 20 years. 2 grown kids, a house we paid off together, and a marriage that feels more like a quiet roommate agreement than a love story. Tom's a good man. Kind, dependable, predictable. He takes his coffee the same way every morning, wears the same brand of khakis every day, and falls asleep watching the same cable news shows every night. I don't say that with resentment. Just resignation. That's what happens, I suppose. You fall in love, you build a life, and then one day, you realize you're living next to each other instead of with each other. He used to look at me like I was something rare. Now, he barely looks up from his phone. 2 weeks ago, I walked into our bedroom holding a little red bag. Inside was something I hadn't bought in over a decade: lace, silk, a soft kind of defiance. I wanted to feel like a woman again. Not a mom, not a wife. Just wanted. I waited until Saturday. Tom was supposed to be out back fixing the fence with Mike, his best friend since college. They'd been doing little projects together ever since we moved here. I figured I'd surprise Tom when he came back in. Maybe remind him there's still something worth noticing. I didn't lock the door. I didn't think I had to. Mike had always been around. He and Tom went way back, frat brothers turned coworkers, turned weekend warriors with matching tool belts and a shared obsession with golf. He was always Uncle Mike to the kids, a fixture in our lives. He was in the photos at every barbecue, every birthday. But I never really saw him until that summer. Maybe because he never really saw me either. But something shifted. Maybe it was the way he started lingering a little longer when he dropped by. Or the way he'd say my name slower, like he was tasting it. He started calling me Jay instead of Jenna, like we had some kind of inside joke I didn't remember starting. Mike was the kind of man who took his time saying things. His voice had this low, lazy drawl, like he'd been born in the South, even though he wasn't. And when he laughed, it wasn't loud. Just a breathy little sound that stayed with you. I told myself I was imagining it. That I was lonely and looking for crumbs of attention in all the wrong places. But then came the glances. Not full stares. Not long enough to call out. Just pauses. A glance too low. A look too long. I caught one in the kitchen once. He'd come in to grab a water while Tom was still outside. My robe slipped just a little. His eyes flicked down, then back up, and he said nothing. But his jaw tightened. Like he'd just thought something he shouldn't have. I should have felt uncomfortable. I didn't. That Saturday, I waited until I heard the hammering slow down. I thought I had time. I slipped into the lingerie slowly, half laughing at myself in the mirror. It didn't fit like it used to. I wasn't 25 anymore. But it still hugged the right places, still whispered a little promise. I stood there, heart fluttering, waiting for Tom to walk in and see me. The door creaked. I smiled, turned around, ready to playfully say something flirty, bold. But it wasn't Tom. It was Mike. He froze in the doorway. We both did. He had a pair of gloves in one hand, a beer in the other. His shirt was clinging to him from the heat outside, damp around the collar. His eyes landed on me and didn't move. I gasped, instinctively grabbing for the blanket at the foot of the bed, but I was too slow. We stared at each other for what felt like an entire minute, neither of us breathing. Then he said, so quietly I almost didn't hear it. "You shouldn't leave the door open like that, Jay." I could have yelled. Should have told him to leave. But my mouth opened and nothing came out. He didn't move toward me, didn't smirk or leer. He just stood there, as if trying to memorize the moment. I turned away, pulled the blanket around me. My skin was burning, not from shame, but something far more dangerous. When I looked back over my shoulder, he was still there, still staring. But now his jaw was set. His voice came out strained. "Tell Tom I want to grab more nails. Back soon." And he was gone. The silence afterward was deafening. My heart was thudding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I didn't go downstairs for almost an hour. When I finally did, Tom was in the garage, fiddling with some broken hinge. He didn't look up when I walked by. Didn't ask where I'd been. Mike was there too. Quiet. Focused. But when I reached for a cold drink from the fridge, I could feel his eyes. And then, as I turned to go, our arms brushed. Just a simple touch. But I stopped breathing. Because in that one moment, that one tiny accident, his hand lingered just a second too long. A pause that said more than words ever could. And Tom? He never noticed. But I did. I still don't know if that door opened by accident, or if he didn't knock on purpose. I didn't sleep much that night. Tom snored beside me, just like he always did. One arm flopped across his chest, the other tucked under the pillow. I lay stiff under the sheets, every nerve lit up like a live wire, staring at the ceiling like it held some kind of answer. But it didn't, because the only thing I could feel was him. Mike's presence had followed me like a shadow. I could still hear the way he said my name, Jay, like it meant something. I could still see his eyes, locked on me in that doorway. Not just seeing what I was wearing, but seeing through it. Through me. I should have told Tom. About the door. About what happened, or almost happened. But I didn't. Instead, I pressed my face into the pillow, inhaled the faint scent of fabric softener, and tried not to think about how my body had reacted to a man who wasn't my husband. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of bacon and coffee. Tom was already downstairs, humming off-key to some country song on the radio. Everything was normal. Ridiculously, painfully normal. But when I went to grab a cup from the cabinet, my hand trembled. And I didn't know if it was guilt or craving. Mike came by again 3 days later. Another project. Another excuse. This time it was the sprinkler system. I told myself I could be civil. I could handle it. I wore jeans and a loose t-shirt. No makeup. Hair pulled back. But when I stepped onto the porch with 2 glasses of lemonade, his eyes still did that thing. That slow drag. That pause. And the worst part? I felt it. I felt that pull deep in my stomach. That awful, aching need I hadn't felt in years. Tom took the drinks, nodded his thanks. Mike didn't say a word. Just watched me go back inside. That night, I opened the hall closet, and there it was, the lingerie. Still folded, barely touched. I shoved it to the back, buried it under old towels. I told myself I was done with all of it, that it was a moment and nothing more. But moments don't whisper to you when you're alone in the shower. They don't make you stare at your reflection and wonder what it would feel like to be seen like that again. And they definitely don't make you start imagining things you shouldn't. It happened a week later. The house was empty. Tom was gone on a work trip, last-minute conference, out of state. He kissed me goodbye in the driveway, told me not to burn the house down while he was gone. I left, waved him off. Mike came by that afternoon to check on the fence. I don't even know how it started. One minute I was offering him water. The next, we were both standing in the doorway, neither of us speaking. The air between us was thick with it. The thing we weren't naming. The thing we both knew was there. And then he said, voice low, almost apologetic. I haven't stopped thinking about that day, Jay. I'm sorry, but I haven't. I should have shut the door. Instead, I stepped aside and let him in. We didn't do anything. We didn't touch. Not really. But we talked. God, we talked. About the marriage. The loneliness. The way Tom didn't see me anymore. The way Mike felt like an outsider in his own life, too. His words weren't smooth. He wasn't trying to seduce me. But every time he looked at me like I mattered, something in me cracked open. We sat on the couch, inches apart, and I could feel the heat of him. He reached out, just once, and brushed my hair away from my cheek. And that's when it happened. I closed my eyes. He leaned in. And for the briefest second, our foreheads touched. Not a kiss. Not quite. But we crossed a line we couldn't uncross. I whispered, "You should go." He did. But he didn't stop looking back. And I didn't stop wishing he wouldn't. The guilt crept in slowly, like smoke through a crack. I told myself it was harmless, that I hadn't done anything. But lies have weight. And they cling. Tom came back Sunday night, tired and tan from the Florida sun. He kissed me on the cheek, told me he missed me. I flinched. 3 days later, it all unraveled. I found him in the garage, just standing there, not working on anything, just staring at the security feed on his tablet. "We got a new camera last month," he said, voice flat. "I forgot to tell you." My stomach dropped. I felt cold all over. Did Mike come over while I was gone? I swallowed. "Yeah, to check on the fence." He nodded, still watching the screen. Funny, he was inside for over an hour, talking, on the couch. You touched his face. Silence. I wanted to explain, to scream that nothing happened, that I was lonely, that I didn't mean for any of it, but I couldn't find the words. Because somewhere, deep down, I had wanted it. Tom finally looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes wasn't rage. It was worse. It was detachment, like a door had closed. "I'm not mad," he said softly. "I'm just done pretending we're happy." Then he turned and walked out of the garage. He didn't come home that night. It's been 6 weeks. The bed is cold on both sides now. Mike hasn't come by since. I don't know if Tom confronted him. I don't know if he feels ashamed or relieved. I tried to text Tom, call, apologize, but I think some betrayals are quiet. Some don't leave bruises or lipstick stains. Just distance, emptiness, regret. The lingerie is still in the back of the closet. I found it the other day when I was cleaning. Still folded. Still waiting. I thought I'd throw it away. Instead, I put it on. Not for anyone else. Just to remember how it felt, for one brief moment, to be wanted again. Tom left the ring on the nightstand. I left everything else.